everyone here at Manga Historian. I just finished watching the anime sequence of Dark Hero arc, which I have gone on record here on this channel stating I'm not a huge fan of, and it changed my opinion of the Dark Hero arc, so I wanted to talk about it. But my dear friend Dan over here also only watches the anime and just watched it, so we thought it'd be fun to have a quick discussion about it and see if you guys like this kind of content. And if you don't, it'll go into the Destiny content vault with all my favorite guns. Anyway.
The vault where you're like, I'm going to put it here because I might use it again someday. You never use it ever again.
All right, so going over the Dark Hero arc, we are not going to spoil anything beyond the Dark Hero arc, but we will be talking about every scene that happened within the anime, which includes the reveal of a character that's going to be more prominently displayed very soon. So that is your heads up on that. So Dan, since I have, well, you know what? Let me start with this. I'm going to start with my opinion of the manga versus the TV show and why I think the TV show has changed my opinion on that. But my overall opinion of what happens here, I don't think is overall changed. And we'll talk about that more in depth. The Dark Hero arc is basically Deku has, in short, decided that being around his friends is going to get them killed. So he needs to go off on his own and draw out one for, it's one for all. I always mix the two up, right? One
all
for all.
One.
All for one's the villain. Yeah.
Because it's all for one villain or one hero for all. That's how I always remember it.
It doesn't help me at all. I always mix the two.
I know, but maybe our fans will use that to help them.
But he's trying to draw out one for all for one. I literally told you it wouldn't help. He's trying to draw out all for one. He decides to go off on his own, and he's literally running himself into the ground. This eventually resolves with him, everyone realizing that he is basically running himself into the ground, and that the pro hero is using him as bait is not working out. So they try to bring him back to UA, where there's a big stand where he has to fight against the class. He then has a big moment with all the civilians where they're like, get rid of him. He's bait. We don't want him. Uraraka, Gravity Girl makes a great stance.
Uraraka.
Thank you. When you're reading it, Dan, you can call her whatever you want.
I mean, you're not wrong. There's no pronunciation in the book.
Right. In the book, when it comes up, I could just say it however I want. I was just reading Dragon Ball Super, and I told you Krillin's name in there is Kyorurin or something weird like that. Mm-hmm. And I just called him Krillin. But no one calls him Krillin in the book. You can call them whatever you want.
I always love how they simplify names in the Dragon Ball stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, big stance. She makes a big speech. It's a moving speech. It really is. Bakugo's speech is moving, but it pretty much resolves with, okay, Deku's going to rest. He's going to come back into UA, and he realizes he can't do this alone, which is a pivotal moment for his character. But I have reasons why I dislike the way this was portrayed in the manga, and we're going to talk about that because I want to get your full opinions before that. Mm. But what I wanted to say is this did hit a lot different than in the manga. When I was reading the manga, I was more like, oh, really? We're just like, and I'll explain my feelings on that in a minute, but I was more, until the speeches. The speeches were strong. Right. I felt the speeches were great still.
Just quick question. You watched it in dub as well, right?
Yes. Okay. I watch it in dub. I don't watch, if I'm reading the manga, I don't watch it in sub because I will get distracted. My brain will just wander because I've already seen the scenes, but I can watch it in dub in the background.
Okay. I wanted to make sure so that we both had the exact same experience with the show. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So that is what's going on with that. Now, the speech and everything, the reason why I think the anime made it hit different is hearing them say it, like it definitely, the music, the swells, getting behind it, the acting, the voiceover, all of it works so well. It really hit home a lot stronger than reading it in the manga. While the speech was good in the manga, you are missing the musical cues. You are missing the power in her voice and how you want it to be portrayed. Same thing with Bakugo. Like the way he said the lines was a lot softer than I was reading it. Because at that point, I pretty much just Bakugo's yelling everything.
Yeah.
You're always better than me!
It's King Explosion Dynamite. I think. Is that it?
Yeah, it's something like that. Like King Explosion, God Tier Dynamite. I don't know, something like that.
I just love that everyone actually calls him that. Like they're running around and they're like, Explosion King, God Tier Dynamite, go over here.
So... before I go in anymore and take over more of this video and explain why I dislike the manga portrayal and why I don't like where these story beats are placed, how did you feel about the Dark Hero arc, Dan?
I actually really enjoyed it. I could see that, like, your opinion on with the manga, not hearing the emotion in those voice actors' voices, because that hammers it all home. Like
It does. Yeah.
It hammers it home in such a way that you're just like, you can feel the emotion coming off them. I liked it though, because I feel like it was a good amount of character growth, and probably the first time I feel like there's been a big change in Deku and the way that he acts and like holds himself up and stuff like that. And like, I actually really just enjoyed that, because it was another side to him. It wasn't like in some anime or manga where you're like, oh, okay, so it's the exact same character all the way through. This felt like actual development to his character that felt like it was fitting. Like it didn't feel out of place. So I really enjoyed all of it. Lots of great fight scenes, lots of great moments.
The fight sequences played out a lot better. I mean, they were really good. The way they draw the My Hero fight sequences up until Final War, which is what's happening right now, have been gorgeous. Final War, I feel like they try to put too much on the page at the same time because they're trying to be like, everyone's here, kind of a thing. But yeah, at this point, it was really good because, like, how is it pronounced in the show? Because I was always saying it wrong. Lady Najant?
I've been saying Nagant, but I don't
Nagant?
think that's it, because it's Nagant.
Yeah,
so
they
I'm
say her
clearly
name
forgetting.
in the show, and I heard it. I was like, oh, I've been saying it wrong the whole time. But her fight with Deku, I thought was great. She's one of my favorite characters that get introduced in the last half of the series. I like her portrayal. I like her costume design, just the way, because she's got the airwalk, you got the dress flowing in the wind. She's got the whole arm gun thing that transfers. I just love her whole design. I thought it was great. So the fight sequences were great in the manga, and it was also great in the show. That's one thing, because I said that in my review when I was talking about Dark Hero. The fight sequences were great. I loved the way they were portrayed in the manga, and seeing them in anime with the swells and the music and everything picking up really just hammers in like what I enjoyed about the arc. But before I go completely why I disliked it again, Dan.
I'm not sure how we're going to do this, so I've got the episode list, so I was going to actually just kind of go through each episode and kind of give my opinion on it. Because I loved that we're starting with, obviously we said at the beginning, episode 19, Full Power. I
133
loved
if you're watching
that.
the long list.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help them. That's all. Yeah.
I loved the fact that it starts off the season by going, hey, we're just going to quickly remind you how powerful Deku is now. You remember that fight with Muscular that took a lot out of him?
Yeah.
And he one-shots Muscular this round. I literally, after it happened, I just go to Benny. I'm like, did Deku just one-shot Muscular? Like,
yeah, his power level. I think it's like 2 or 3 episodes after this, but he makes the comment to All Might that he is now at All Might's peak and going beyond it.
Oh my gosh. I just love the way he integrates all the different powers and like uses them in great sequence with each other. I do feel like we missed kind of a training montage moment of him actually practicing with the powers. But I mean, I guess at the same time, the previous users do say, they're like, oh, wow, you just tried to use my power in the middle of a fight for the first time, and that's not going too great for you. But you're still doing not too bad.
I want to reference something with the manga here that you'll get better now, and I'm trying to pull it up real fast.
Okay.
Because it pertains to this first episode / first chapter of what had happened. Okay. So there's one thing that they did, which was a great visual aid to show you the changes in Deku at this time in the manga. Okay, so this is a blurry image, but it'll get my point across. Because it's not the important one, but you need to see. So imagine these lines are clean on Deku.
Okay.
But it's clean drawn, like you do see in the show and stuff like that. And I don't think they did a good job of portraying this in the anime, but you didn't need to because the voice change. The voice change showed you what he was going through and how, like, not himself he was. When they drew Dark Hero Deku, it's darker. It's a lot heavier shaded. It's more blurred out lines. This is how he was portrayed in the book at the time. So I think one great thing they did, because you couldn't do the voice shift like you do in the anime, because when he talks like he's practically Batman at this point, but in the manga, to get that same portrayal, we got this much heavily shaded version of him. He was always in the dark. There was always these dark tones coming over the character, and he stayed looking like this, and he almost looked like he was blurry in the manga as he's walking through compared to the other characters, because they all continue to get drawn like normal.
Right.
So I wanted to talk about that because the anime did a great job of changing it over to be more about that voice. Yeah, the image was still there, but he was still drawn cleanly, you know?
He was. They did really, really change the suit though, as he did. Like more and more, it started go more and more like, you look like a villain, dude.
That's
couple
where they
times
get to by the time he talks to Bakugo and all them. Yeah,
I was definitely at a couple times looking at it. I'm like, so did you cut like the toe holes yourself? Like, did that, like, does the costume evolve with you that they're now talons of some sort? I love that he has Gran Torino's cloak as just like a, like shawl kind of thing.
Yeah.
Loved that. While the voice, I felt like it was less Batman because I feel like Batman has more of a serious tone to it. With Deku, it felt a lot more like just tired and exhausted and just pushing through. And I liked that because it showed more that he wasn't going more like ruthless or down a villainous kind of path. It just more showed he is running himself into the ground. Like when he takes the the helmet off, or I don't know what that mask or whatever.
I always think
like
his buddy ears for some weird reason.
But I mean, that's basically what they are. And like he's just got these massive bags under his eyes, and he just looks so worn out, and just like, I can't stop. I got to keep going. Like, this is what I got to do. And I loved that they did that because it really did just hammer home that happy, always hopeful Deku is dying. Like, not that he's like he's like legitimately just dying on the inside because he's doing this all on his own. Just to skip forward a little bit further to when he does fight the rest of his class, they really reflect back to everything that's happened of Deku right now is doing everything that is opposite of the speeches that he has had with his classmates of, you don't have to do this alone. We are a team. We'll always be a team. And it's like, it was a cool parallel to go, that Deku's kind of dying on the inside right now.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, because this really is what's supposedly happening at this point, because All Might he's barely even talking to. He doesn't even want All Might around him, you know?
Exactly.
And it was touching to have All Might be like, take this!
Oh my
More
God.
cutlets!
The fact that
you have to eat!
It's like All Might has become his mother of like I need to be protective. I can't do anything, but I'm here. Like, take your lunch.
I got you lunch!
I just loved that he was always like that with him. Because having All Might like that, it kept that hopefulness. I'm glad they kept the top three kind of with him, because it did keep that hopefulness of a hero along with him. And I feel like without that, the tone would have been a lot different, and I would have interpreted it more as he's going into more of an anti-hero villainous direction with how he is taking care of things. But I still like how through it all, he stops to help the lady who is being attacked for no reason.
The actual bunny girl-ish. I think she's a bunny girl.
I thought she was a shark girl.
Shark girl? Okay.
Either way, she doesn't look human anymore because of her quirk.
How did you feel about the parallel of Hawks with Lady Najant, or Najant, whatever you want to call it?
Oh, like how they both were...
They're in the same role, but she went to villain, and he's just now working without his wings, basically.
Right. It's basically the equivalent of Izuku and Tomura.
Yeah.
Just in the government. I really liked it because I thought they did a great job of, at the start, they really hammer home, she's a deadly assassin. Like, they just are just like, she never misses. She always kills. You can't get out of her way kind of stuff. I really like that. And then when they give you her history, I like that it's all hero. And then when those kids come up to her, you can see in her face in the anime the shattering of the glass of, I'm not a hero.
For a character that only showed up for like 2 or 3 chapters in I think just the one episode. I don't even think she showed. Maybe she's like halfway.
I think she's.
Is
I
it
thought
Lady
she was
Najant
in 2.
Friend or Hired Gun and Lovely? That's it. She gets 2. they give her a lot of backstory and they build on her really quickly so that they can kind of shut her down like real fast with the Hawks moment at the ending. So.
Exactly, yeah, because it was a lot of backstory for a character that wasn't around a long time, but it felt more like her backstory was backstory for Hawks. Like it felt
it
more
was
like
the show where Hawks could have gone if he had gone actual evil.
Yeah, and I really liked what they did with Hawks. I also liked when
because I know
they
you're a
go
fan
into-
of Hawks. You know?
I think he's a great character,
Yeah.
and I really like how throughout the entire anime, multiple times I'm like, wait, is he a hero? Is he a villain? I don't know anymore. And I thought
For
that
those
was
who
great.
don't know, Dan's favorites are Hawks and Lemillion of all two
Oh
characters.
my God, Lemillion! When he
so
came back in that fight, and you
was
just see his blur, and I'm like, oh my God, no way.
I had to bite my tongue so much because when we were just to give you a little we'll go back to talk about the Dark Hero Saga, but when I was reading through Liberation arc, the what's it called? Yeah, Paranormal Liberation War arc, and Lemillion came back, and Hawks' moments with Dabi. I had to bite my tongue so much to not spoil that stuff for Dan because he was waiting for the anime. It was like a 6-month gap where I'm like, Dan, please just read it.
Right.
Please just read it so I can talk to you about what happened in it.
I love that, and I also just go back that arc as well. I'm so sad Twice died.
Oh,
yeah.
But they gave him such a send-off.
They did, but
Yeah.
he was such a character that you're like, I want him to swap to the good side. Like, keep him around.
But I bring this up for a purpose, because if you're watching this on Manga Story and you want to see more discussions about what's happening in anime versus the manga and my opinions on both of them with a friend, let us know in the comments down below. We started doing the Dark Hero arc because Dan just watched it. So if you want to get more styled videos like this, we could make this a regular thing here at Manga Storian, because it is a lot of work for me to read 50 chapters of a manga or 30 to 50 and then make a video. So extra content's always good.
I will say, if we do, we'll probably do it in shorter episode amounts, because I'm realizing as I'm going through this, I'm like, all right, here to here to here. I'm going around here. I got to talk about this, just because the whole thing was super exciting and I loved it all.
My favorite comment was when I just got on a recent Manga Storian video. All right, time for another ADD video with Benny where he's all over the place, and I love it.
I mean, if that doesn't show how excited we are for this, that we just keep remembering, oh, this was also I don't know what else could.
But I'll bring it back. I'm going to bring it back.
Yes, Hawks.
If you want to finish Hawks, I was going to move us on to the fight between.
Oh,
Deku.
yeah, no. So just to finish off the Hawks, I really like how they did that. And I think my favorite part about Hawks' entire story is Endeavor. Like, as weird as that is, I like that we finally have a character that their idol is not All Might. Everyone else there, I want to be like All Might. I want to be the #1 hero. But he has that moment of, oh, they can only afford the Endeavor one. But he's like, this is my hero. Like, he is everything I want to be, which is weird because he's not that great during this time period. But hey, that's beside the point.
I actually liked Endeavor. Like, he was, as you got from the Todoroki family arc, to not go too deep into that stuff, you do find out he was always in the end he had good intentions. He just always had a bad way of getting there. And like Bakugo, he never did steer off the hero path.
That is true. He never truly did anything that was like, okay, that's questionable.
Yeah.
It was more just the way he held himself and talked to people that was like, what you doing there, bud?
What you doing? All right, so moving on, though, we have Deku versus Class A and the Young Woman's Declaration, because those two kind of tie together. I think Friend is technically a part of that, but those 3 episodes are kind of a big batch of the next big events that happen. So, and this is actually part of what I dislike about this arc, but we'll go deeper into that after I get your opinions on these segments. So you got 3 episodes. Deku's finally run into the ground, and they've decided that they need to get him back, and the Class 1A has to do it. So we spend 1 episode where they have to confront him. We spend 1 episode explaining how they decided to confront him, and then we spend 1 episode everyone defending him against the civilians. So how did you feel about this whole stretch of things?
So I will say, when they kind of go to the class and they're all talking about it, at first I'm like, is this a filler episode?
Yeah.
Because it's such a drastic tone change from everything else in this season. But I do like how all of them, and this will tie into the fight as well, I like how all of them don't ever hold anything against Deku. He's fighting against them. He's beating the crap out of them, because throughout that entire fight, I just kept going, wow, he is proving to all these people that he is their class and more.
Yeah.
By himself.
I agree with you that because there's one thing I liked about it when he finally reveals everything that has been going on to the class, and their response is, "Well, he's a member of the class.
Yeah.
Let's go get him." Like
There is no questioning of it. There's
no one
nothing.
questions it. No one hesitates. They're all just like, we got to go get Deku.
It's kind of like what they did with Bakugo, but I really enjoyed that. I liked how when they fought, he showed off all of his different powers. Because I don't spoil this, but I have a feeling that could relay into future episodes of they know what he's capable of. Because before this, I believe all they really knew was full cowling and Black Whip. I don't think they had seen any of his other powers.
Well,
so I thought
most
this
of the
was
other powers at this point are just like more enhancements. Like he doesn't. Black Whip and full power are the big moves that he can pull off.
Yeah.
Smoke Screen, it's cool, but it's not really as useful as they're trying to use it.
Smoke Screen is more
but like
strategic.
Fajin is just enhances more of the speed. You know what I mean? Danger Sense is something that you won't see from anybody. So
I liked how all of the different powers, they go into different aspects of kind of what makes you a hero. Like, for example, the strength, the power of like all for one or one for all. God, now you got me doing it. One for all, the Najin, where he like stores up the power.
Yeah.
I liked how those ones are offensive abilities. Then we've got Black Whip, which is kind of like a hybrid, but it's more of, I'll put Black Whip and Float in the same category. Those are more movement abilities that just increases mobility. Then you've got the Smoke Screen that's very strategic. You've got the Danger Sense, which is very defensive. Like, I like how each of these different powers cover the weaknesses that the other ones present. And I really, really enjoyed that. But throughout the fight of him between Class A, I liked how they reflect, like this kind of goes back to what I was saying. They reflect all the moments that Deku was saying things that are the opposite of what he is doing now. Really, really enjoyed that. Moving on to when they take him back to the academy, and everyone there is like, we're super angry, we're super angry. My first thought was, okay, I can see why they killed off Lady Midnight, because if she was around, this whole thing would go around like, okay, she just releases her weird powder, and now they're all calm, and everything's cool. When that happened, I was like, okay,
they remove a few of the
sense.
powerful ones off the board, because at this point, like even Ayawaza. Why can't I say his name now?
Iwaza?
Iwaza. Like I'm adding an extra syllable. Anyway, they even point out like his leg is now robotic and he can't go out and do the things that he used to do. But his ability to shut everyone down was also kind of OP.
It was, but I like how they still kept him a little like that, so they have the potential of using that later, because he does still have the one eye.
It reminds me of, there's a show that came on back in the late 2000s called Heroes.
I remember that one.
Okay, so
I didn't watch it, but I do know of it.
Was the concept of like, what if X-Men arrived in the modern day, but we're not going to use X-Men? And they made a character, Peter Petrelli, too powerful too quickly. Mm-hmm. So like the second season, he was like losing powers. They're like, oh no, he can just take care of everything in like in a blink of an eye. So we got to remove those abilities, and it just kind of reminded me of that, where it's like, okay, so now we're going to move into the final war arc, and I've made way too many powerful characters.
I will say, I'm glad that at no point have they, in my opinion, nerfed anyone in Class 1A.
Yeah, 1A. Well, 1A's, you got to look at it this way. Like, the pro heroes had all the groundbreaking abilities. Mm-hmm. The 1A heroes were learning how to use their abilities to eventually maybe get there. But none of them were like, we're going to break the team or so strong kind of a situation.
Well, besides Todoroki and Bakugo.
But even that, they're just crazy powerful offensive. They just do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
You know, but they're not like on the level of like Iwaza. Eraserhead can just look at you, and you can't do, like, they've used that so many times to just shut people down.
Yeah.
So
but during that entire sequence, I had both frustration and anger as well as happiness with it, because my goodness, was it frustrating when someone would say something and then the crowd would be like, huh, no, screw you still. Like, we're still like, and it's like, oh my gosh, how dense are all these people? Because like throughout the entire thing, you're like, oh, they're constantly blaming the heroes. They're saying, oh, this guy's trying to take over the world. We can't have this guy here. He'll attack us. And it's like, did you forget the part that you literally just said where he's taking over the world and this academy counts as the world?
My favorite speech from the civilians was the guy that came forward and said, to me, everyone was like they were on a stage before this.
Yeah.
Like when he explained that. And I love that part of the speech because that really does show how the civilians saw the heroes up to this point.
Yeah.
Which gives you the idea of why they'd be like, whoa. Our video game is now on the front seat. Like our wrestling match is now happening in our living room.
Yeah.
I don't want this. Go away. Like
it's honestly, it's kind of how people look at movie and TV celebrities until they see them out of that environment and like in some cases don't meet your heroes kids because you go, wow, that's not the same person, like image shattered. I will say reverse back a little bit because I'm so excited that my head's jumped back and forth. The moment with Bakugo and Deku.
Yes.
Like
I think that was the best speech from UA 1A. Gravity Girls was good, but my problem with Gravity Girl is they started off like she was going to be a love interest, and now we've had how many episodes where she's just kind of there, kind of hanging out with everyone. So,
but with Bakugo, it was the emotion, his acceptance of everything, like the fact that his character, I'm so glad, has had growth. I had the fear that throughout the entire show, he was going to be that character that's just always angry, always this.
He's
and
Vegeta.
He still has that. Exactly.
He's the Vegeta of the show.
That is the best way to say it. No kidding. But that moment when he called him Izuku, the emotion that came out of his voice, the animation of both of them standing there in the rain, just the two of them reflecting how they've always done the flashbacks of them. They're always standing like that. The fact that as he's giving the speech, they're aging down to when they were kids and he was
and the
bully.
Voiceover got to the kid voice too. I actually noticed that one because like, oh, they're actually using like he got the kid voice going now.
Like I loved that. And then just the moment he says Izuku and that look on Deku's face of that, I feel like that was truly the moment of these are my friends.
Right.
Like he's calling me Izuku. I went and I was watching this as I messaged Benny. I was like, part of me thought Deku was going to be like, you're an imposter. Bakugo would never call me Izuku.
I'm trying to see where your notes are that you were taking as we were going through.
I just loved that moment. I thought it was great, and I'm glad that character development stuck, but also his normal demeanor didn't fully change. Like, he's still like, Deku, Izuku. Like, he's like, oh, crap, I gotta start saying this now. But I really like that Uravity's speak, Ochako, whatever you want to say, Uraraka. Yeah. Her speech was great because she was another great example. And I like this about all the different heroes. You see their perception and what they admired about heroes. We had Deku, who looked up to All Might, the symbol of hope. We had Hawks, who looked up to Endeavor, the guy that would basically do what needs to be done, and maybe he's a little brash about it, but whatever. And then we had Ochako, who always looked to everything around the heroes. The fact that the heroes are doing things and she's looking at all of the civilians and they're cheering them on. And I love that moment when like the heroes like beaten down and the cheer, like they're, and he's like, wow, like, yeah. And it like kind of heals him a little bit. I just love that moment. And I loved how
I like Froppy's little speech she had right there. Like it was like 2 minutes, but just even
I liked
she
all the
chimed
speeches.
In. Yeah, all the speeches to him were great. It just all of them were. And like the whole sequence there, I agree with you. I thought it was great. I did like it, and hearing it all out was great. And even in the manga, I liked it. Mm-hmm. So it's. Can I go to what I disliked about this whole thing now, though?
I just wanted to.
I'm
cap
letting
on
you finish
the end.
before I go into that. Yeah.
I liked how it concluded with the civilians talking and accepting it. I appreciated that it wasn't just a speech from a hero automatically changed them. It was a speech from the hero made them a little more open-minded. They didn't fully change he can stay here all the time, but more of they kind of went to, he's a kid. Like, they kind of had that realization of, this is just a kid.
Just a kid.
He's out there running himself ragged for all of us who were just berating him and yelling at him and telling him he doesn't belong in the place that he belongs. Like, if anything, they don't belong there. But I liked that that's how it concluded, and that they were just like, he can rest here, get your strength back, but then leave.
But get out.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, we'll tolerate this for a little bit, but don't spend too long. I appreciated that. But yes, I want to hear what you didn't like, because I loved it all.
I know I filmed this segment and you kind of watched, but now I think you might understand a little bit better. My problem with this segment is that it's happening so late into the story arc, and it feels super condensed compared to how long I feel like something like this should have happened.
Okay.
That's my issue, because I feel like at this point in the show, in the manga, we're over in the manga we're over 300 chapters.
Okay.
And in the show, we're over 125 episodes. And you've had one style of show for the equivalent of like 6 US seasons. Well, it's 6 seasons on when they translated over. It's 6 seasons. And in the manga, you've got the equivalent of, what would that be? Like 4 or 5 trades of one style of show.
Right.
And to do this pivot so late, knowing, because at this point we already knew that he was planning on closing out the whole series within the next 100 chapters or so.
Right.
So I just feel like it happens way too late, and it's such a weird turn for the characters. And then it just resolves quickly. Almost like he's like, oh, I need to have stakes because up to this point, Deku's just always had his friends and always had pro heroes. Crap, I need to make this seem like there's, it's affecting the characters more, because you think about this, up to this point, nothing has affected Deku. He lost Bakugo. The other kids got injured. Other friends got injured. All Might lost his powers, and none of that made Deku go, wow, maybe I shouldn't be around people.
Right.
So to me, and like I said, I do want to clarify, I loved the fights and I love what happened in this. It's just placement-wise and pacing, it happens so late. It feels like a weird moment for Deku to come to these conclusions so late, and then for it to resolve within 22 chapters and 7 episodes. Like, I feel like this should have been season 6 if we're going to do this. If we're going to do this late in the game. But I almost feel like My Hero's gotten too popular, and they were worried about this pivot. Like, they were worried about turning him into a dark hero. We can't do it for too long because people like the X-Men school kind of stuff that's going on. So we can't, if we go on too long with him learning a bunch of lessons, we might lose viewers. We might lose readers. But, like, we still want to hit that story beat. We still want to do that. So that's my biggest issue with this. And everything resolves so quickly. Like, Deku's like, oh, I can't trust anyone. Oh, you gave a good speech. My friends are back. We're good. Like, all of them were able to find Deku immediately, kind of a situation. Lady and the Giant was taken care of within an episode or 2. Like, it all just quickly gets resolved. For me, my problem with the Dark Hero arc is the pacing. And what you'll realize moving into season 7 without spoiling it is a lot of stuff that happens moving from this point on, including this, feels like, oh, crap. Well, I want to end, so I got to do these things.
Right.
I got to do these story beats that make sense to get us to here.
Right.
So, and this just feels like one of those to me.
Okay. I definitely see that point of view, because it does wrap up pretty quickly. But I'm actually gonna disagree, because I feel like I get bored very quickly when there's I'm trying to convince you, but I'm too bullheaded and I'm just gonna decline. Trying to convince you. No, that's not the case. Trying to convince you. I'm glad that was actually condensed down, because usually that just frustrates me, and I'm just like, okay, like, we get it. You've got so many people that need to give a speech. Holy crap. Like, I understand what they're trying to say. But I actually really like this, and I can also see what you're saying of, oh, it happened too late in the game. I feel like this is actually a pretty standard thing with anime, that there is that big significant change that just really changes the tone super late in it. I'm going to use...
It is for a lot of the big series. I'll admit that.
It is.
Because a lot of the big series run into the popularity problem. And I'll let you go to an example in a second. But the series gets popular. So they just keep producing that. And I think that might be a problem with, because I've done it in our D&D games, where it's one writer going through it. So the one writer's like, well, I'm not leaving the series. Like in a manga, I could stay as long as I want if I'm this popular. You know, while in a comic book, it's like, well, I got 50 issues, so I got to move on eventually.
Yeah.
With a manga, though, like he is like, no, I guarantee you right now, Shonen Jump is not going to be like, no, man, you're supposed to end around 400 to 450. That's the ending.
Right.
So we're going to cut you off. No, they're going to be like, yeah, keep doing one of the best-selling manga of all time. So I feel like because he's excited, people are getting on board, so it just keeps going. Because a lot of My Hero's sequences did feel like filler just to have more school and buddy moments. And they were great. I'm not saying they were bad. But if you look back at all of it, did we need every single thing? You know, like...
I feel like it... I feel like throughout this entire time, a lot of it... In terms of Deku... If you really think about it, Deku hasn't grown. Deku's growth has been so minuscule throughout all of this. And the real growth has been, oh, he got a new power. Oh, he can use more than 5%. Oh, he learned full cowling. Like stuff like that. I feel like everything else was really to build up all these side characters as you're going through to make it in a situation of, oh, wow. I have grown attached to this side character, so when something happens to them, Lady Midnight, oh my gosh, like I actually am concerned about her, even though a lot of her stuff was just, oh, she's an instructor. She's the referee for some of the matches. I like that.
I do think it worked because I definitely care about more of the characters. I definitely do, which is, I think, one of the other things I have where we're quickly introducing characters.
Yes.
Like Lady Najan. Oh shit! We need a new villain that's kind of sympathetic that Hawks can relate to, and I didn't create her yet.
Yep.
You know, like.
I mean, some of those like they make sense to go later because if you had some of them earlier, it really spoils and changes your opinion and perception of situations that are going on. But the comparison I was gonna make is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I consider it broken into 4 parts. I think that's because that's how Netflix always put it on the website, and that's just how I remember. And I feel like throughout that, 3/4 of it was kind of, oh, Full Metal Alchemist, they're more happy-go-lucky. And then you have that moment when the majority of the homunculi start showing up. You really start learning about Father's plans for the entire country. All the dark stuff happens. Yeah. The real secret behind... like Ishvalar, like it really starts going downhill fast. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of what they're doing with My Hero. And it really symbolizes that they should go to a conclusion. Like you can't do this. But like the downhill really quickly after slowly building and building and building, and then have that moment where it starts. It's like a roller coaster. We have been in this moment of, oh my gosh, oh, we're going to get to the fight between All Might or like All for One and One for All. Like, oh my God. And we've had these moments where it goes up and then All Might loses his power and all of that goes. Yeah. And then we're going up for the Dark Hero. And then, oh my gosh, we're going like, I really, really like that. And I like it because it's created an urgency and a more impactful, you don't know what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. You don't know if in this next episode, half of Class of 1A is just going to get absolutely obliterated because we just lost this character moments after we just got them. Like, all of a sudden, we've got things going, okay, this is going to have a severe impact. You don't know when it's going to happen. It could just come out of the blue and just really surprise you. And I like that urgency has happened. We don't know who's going to show up. I liked that at the end of all of this, they remind you, hey, this is all just Japan. There's a rest of the world, and they also have quirks and heroes. Like they've always said, oh, like 97% of the world's population got quirks. And like we got Lady All Might at the end, like standing on a jet, and you're like, yes, I'm finally getting other people that are going to, maybe they're not going to have much, but they're going to build. They're not there for that character. They're there to build on All Might more. Where they're there to build on so-and-so more. And like, I am so excited for this next arc because I binged this like nobody's business. That's kind of why I'm jumping around, because I'm like, oh yeah, this happened to this one, this happened to there. But I really, really like that things are happening so fast and so condensed, because as someone with a relatively short attention span, I do lose interest. That's honestly why it took me so long to get to this point, or so long to catch up with my hero, is because a lot of the time I'm like, if this gets slow and I swap to something else, I'm not going to come back for a long time. I mean,
Right.
Mushoku Tensei, that's just a random example. I got halfway through and I got bored and went to something else, still haven't gone back.
That happened to me with My Darling Franks. We got halfway through and Natalie wanted to do something else for a week and I forgot we were watching it.
Exactly. And and that's the thing, is I feel like this fast pace at the end makes me feel more anticipated, more like, oh, okay, wait, like if it's going this fast and I know there's a good amount left and I know it's going to keep at this pace, there is so much that could happen.
Yeah.
And I love that.
All right.
There's one last part. There's one last part that I just remembered. That luckily, before you close this out, oh my God,
and All Might.
Stain and All Might.
I did like that. I thought it was longer. Dan had to because I thought the episode ended because I was watching this, and I've read the manga, so I knew all the different sequences.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Stain. I liked Stain's speech to All Might because I feel like after all of this, All Might needs to kind of be redeemed because all he had was his strength and smile.
Yeah,
you know?
and like his attitude on the world has just gone down and down and down, and he's forgotten that he was a hero, and that even without the power, he's still a hero.
Yes. I liked that woman, though. I forgot about her. I will admit that. I forgot for that from the manga, but the last woman he saved has been scrubbing the statue to keep it clean. So
I love that. I also love that she's just got this weird power of creating these balls.
yeah.
I liked that because it kind of hammered home again. All these other people do have quirks. They're just not all amazing.
Yeah. Well, like the buddy lady who's just she's just a half animal lady. That's it.
Exactly. But the reason why I like that, and I think once I say this, you're gonna go, oh yeah, Stain is Red Hood.
Oh yeah. No, I've never disagreed with that. I've always liked Stain because Stain's like, I'm a hero who corrects heroes.
Exactly. And I liked that moment because not only was it growth for All Might to remind him of who he was, who he still is, what he can be for people. I liked it because it was like, here's growth for more of the villains. Like this show, this manga has not shied away of making you aware and connect with the heroes and the villains. Like twice, for example, like knowing about him, you get so much more.
Toga.
Like Toga. Yeah, exactly. Like knowing more about all of them, it just adds so much impact, especially when you see the fights between the heroes and the villains, because you're like, wow, knowing their backstory and how they got to where they are, it really impacts how things work. But I just love that kind of pseudo redemption, but not full redemption, and the self-awareness from Stain of, I'm doing this. Yes, I know I'm being a good guy, but I'm not a good guy. I killed a lot of people, and I know I'm going to have to pay for that. And I just appreciated that they kind of concluded his character. I don't know if he comes back, so maybe he'll come back in standard Red Hood fashion, and he'll fully be a good guy, and he'll be swapped to guns.
I actually can't remember. Because they go to Final War. Like, a lot of other things happen. Like,
the way you said it, I'm prepared for chaos. But yeah, I just wanted to add that on because I like how they portrayed Stain both on the Tartarus outbreak or jailbreak, as well as at this moment of kind of showing, no, he had good intentions. He was just kind of a dick about it and killed people. And probably not the best way to do it, but at the end of the day, he wasn't a true villain. He was Punisher. He was Red Hood. He was that anti-hero. Just maybe went a little too far with it.
But all right, I hope you guys enjoyed a more discussion style format about stuff that happened between anime versus manga, and me and Dan having a big discussion about it. I'm not sure where this went up, but whatever channel you're watching it on, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let us know if you want more content like this, because we love doing it. As you can tell, this is the most Dan's talked in a podcast in ever.
I'm pretty sure if we combined this, it would be equivalent to the last 3 months of normal podcast. Because, yeah, I had a lot to say, and looking at my audio, wow, I did not let you really get any words.
No, you're good. But all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're watching this on Manga Historian, thank you so much for helping us launch this channel.